I think there's amazing, amazing books out there that provide people with the tools to take action. And when I look back at mistakes that I've made, and then also when we interviewed tons of people, a lot of people aren't even aware that they're a bad boss to begin with. So they
Hmm.
don't even know what actions to take. So we really wanted to approach it from the very, very beginning. Like before you even go to the starting line to take a training course, it's like, let's just be aware of what we're doing and be aware, as I said before, the fact that if 99.6% of people have had a bad boss, it's a pretty good chance that you've been a bad boss. And I think it's really important to start with that. And one of the stories, an embarrassing story I share in my book, is about how I was completely blindsided, thinking that I was this really good boss, wasn't doing anything wrong. And then all of a sudden, I found out that I wasn't. I had just moved from the US to the UK. I had this great team, and we all seemed to be, getting on well, getting things done. Usually, you'd think when you have a bad boss, you're not productive. They were productive. And about 3 months into my job, a very brave employee pulled me aside and said, I just want you to know that we have the Debra Corey support group that meets every
Wow.
Friday and shares stories of how you've upset us and made us cry during the week.
Oh my
Because I was
goodness.
I was managing them as an American, and I was
Hmm.
managing them as a Brit, not realizing their nuances, their difference, their needs. So to me, that was one of those light bulb moments where I just, I need to make sure people know that you need to start with awareness.
I could see how critically important that could be, right? I mean, that's why I think a lot of organizations start off with some type of survey because we all have blind spots.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Tasha Eurich and her work on self-awareness. She's got a great book called Insight, which I recommend anyone listening as well. But she found that you know, if you ask leaders how self-aware they are, and ask like if you asked 100 of them um, to rate themselves, around 95 out of 100 would rate themselves as moderately to highly self-aware. And then it's always fun. I like to ask people this. So, what do you think the number actually is after being assessed with a valid assessment tool to measure self-awareness with a 360 tool? What do you think the number actually is? And most people are very optimistic. Oh, 25, 30. It's between 10 and 15%. So, we all, even those of us who are self-aware, we have blind spots. So I can see how absolutely critical this is to be aware, to raise awareness of, well, where I'm certainly not perfect. I don't think anyone, unless you're an egomaniac narcissist, would claim to be perfect. So the question is, where am I not perfect? Where do I have room to grow? And that's where you're saying we should start out, is really taking that assessment of ourselves, maybe using a tool to close up those blind spots. So what would you say are some good action steps? Do you have some precise kind of guidance to help people raise their awareness of where they might
Yeah.
be blind? Maybe they don't have the funding, the budget to do assessments or something like that. Are there other tools that you would recommend to help people understand where they might be lacking, where there might be some room for growth?
Yeah. Well, I guess the first thing that I would say is that what I think also is lacking is that people don't define what it looks like to be a bad boss.
Hmm.
So, your idea of a bad boss is what we see in movies, and you hear these horrible stories. So what we tried to do is define them, and we came up with the 10 types of bad bosses. And they're not the evil ones. They're the ones that are people like us, unintentional bad bosses. And by defining them, then people then can understand what they mean and be more aware of them. And it's interesting, that statistic. As you read those statistics, I was thinking, yes, yes, because I told you we did two surveys, and our data is almost identical. So 80% of people admitted that they have been a bad boss, which is great.
Right.
They're self-aware that they're doing things wrong. But when you go and you compare how they rate themselves against the 10 types of bad bosses compared to what the people rated them, I'll give you a perfect example. One of the bad types of bosses is the unappreciator.
Hmm.
Self-explanatory. You're not
Right.
showing appreciation to your people. 81% of people said that they have an unappreciator boss. 14% of people admitted to being one. So it's almost the same as your
Exactly.
data,
Yeah.
identical. And that's why I think awareness isn't just raising your hand, it's actually being aware specifically of what you're doing wrong in that particular situation, because it's going to change from person to person and situation, project to project. So it's a constant awareness.